congratulations on getting into the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame, and congratulations on that as well. Congratulations on being on the Masked Singer. I love the last time I talked to you, we talked a lot about drag, hence the shirt I'm wearing, because I put it out there. I want you to be a drag race judge and stuff. So I love the fact that when you went on as the doll, you wore the heels, you wore the little sexy pencil skirt, the corset. Like, did you you must have had a say in that outfit.
Well, first of all, I'm expecting the phone to ring at any moment from RuPaul. So I'm expecting the call. Well, they presented the doll to me, and I said, isn't that a little bit of a hat on a hat? I mean, if I've ever seen a Twisted Sister, the doll is a Twisted Sister. But they felt, that people would not guess it, and they didn't. Although Vegas, I was the odds-on favorite. Yeah, there are people on social media did. And for some reason, the judges who have picked me before, they've guessed me before for other people. They thought Johnny Rotten was me. But anyway, but I was the one. I said, let's go full blown. I want the 7-inch. Give me the 7-inchers, pumps, and by the way, it's like riding a bike. It is. I said that on the show last night. What I didn't anticipate was that I was going to have Gayle King's body. Because they only showed me the face. So I said, what? Why am I a large black woman?
They gave you some curves. They definitely gave you some curves
and
hourglass.
Everything. Yeah, I had everything. And the big thing is the headpiece. I didn't realize how limiting and claustrophobic and that is. I mean, your viewing area is about this big. So I'm going around that stage, and by the way, the head is connected to a whole harness with a big rod. So in order to see somewhere, you can't turn your head and look. You got to turn your whole body and look. So anyway, and now I'm wearing 7-inch heels. I go, This was a bad idea. This was a bad idea. I can't see the gaps in the stage. I can't see the chords on the stage. So there's a lot of praying going on while I was doing those performances.
You did all right. I do have to say that I don't know why they were guessing you were Iggy Pop, because even out of the heels, you are 6'1" or so. And he had a song called 5'1". He's not much taller than 5'1".
Yeah. I'm only 5'1". Yes, Iggy's song. Yeah. And Nicole was like, those bony knees. I think he's Iggy. First of all, how does she know Iggy has bony knees? And second of all, I said to her, I said, I don't know if they did they cut that out? They may have cut that out.
I think they did.
I said, Nicole, that was really not cool. You pointed out my least strong feature.
No,
bony knees. She called.
You still got the legs for it. You still got the legs for it. But a friend of mine who's a massive Twisted Sister fan, a massive fan of yours, probably know her, Stephanie Cabral. I sent her the video when All Worlds Collide and you sang the Duran Duran song, and I was like, just listen to the voice. You will get who this is. And she looked at it and was like, he seems like he's trying to disguise his voice a little bit. She's like, but I recognize the legs. She's like, the legs, the stance. She knew it was you. Everyone knew it was you. So obviously you were right at home, doing the drag thing, as you said on the show. Back in the 70s, you used to wear heels. Last time you and I talked, we talked a lot about you pretty much were wearing women's clothing early in the days of Twisted Sister. You're wearing like lingerie that Suzette made for you and stuff. So I have to ask, because you're so politically outspoken, especially when it comes to free speech, PMRC, and like you mentioned, that is like, you schooled the people back in the day. So like, what are your thoughts on this drag ban right now, or attempted drag bans, especially the ramifications it could have just in general for free speech, art, performance? And so I'm sure you got thoughts.
Let's talk about the drag ban. My band would not be allowed to perform in Texas. We would fall under the heading.
Really? Like now?
Yeah, if the new rule, if they pass these rules, men wearing lipstick, nail polish, feminine makeup. I mean, I certainly, so, do I stand with the community? 100%. I've heard the community has reached out and want to use, we're not going to take it as their battle cry. And I've said, with my blessing, brothers and sisters, go for it. I stand with them. Look, just the fact that I was not gay, I was heterosexual, I still had a lot of issues with a lot of people because of wearing the things I wore and dressing the way I dressed in the 70s and even into the 80s. So I've been on the receiving end. So I stand with I get what they go through. And I remember so many times like people would get would I say, I say, no, I'm not gay, I'm just dressing up. I was like, no, well, you got a problem with that? That would be my response. You have a problem with that? And I had a lot of fights of people who were trying to, didn't like the way I expressed myself. So I'm very in favor of free expression on every level, and I will stand with the community. If they ask me to stand with them, I am with them.
It's amazing. What are the plans to use We're Not Going to Take It? Do you have specifics about that? You said they reached out.
Yeah, I'll let them know the plans, but they wanted to know, and it's really, but they see, because I will speak out. I will never censor somebody and say you can't use the song. I will say that I do not support your use of the song. That's censorship. I will not support it. I just want people to know I'm not aligned with them. QAnon uses We're Not Going to Take It for all their little videos.
Do they?
They're creepy little YouTube videos. They use We're Not Going to Take It. And I have to speak out and say, no, I do not stand with QAnon. I do not stand with the January 6ers who use the song. I do not stand with the anti-maskers who use the song. I do not stand with the anti-vaxxers who use the song. I do stand with the teachers who use the song. I do stand with people looking for intelligent gun control who use the song. And I will speak positively. And I do stand with the LGBT. I get the letters all wrong. I'm old. I should be just allowed to say gay.
LGBTQ plus, LGBTQIA. Yeah, but your heart is in the right place, even if the letters aren't in the right place. I stand
with the community and will applaud their using the song, because that is the right spirit. It was not for selfish purposes. It was for everybody's. Everybody should be allowed to express themselves freely without 100%. Being shot with assault weapons, and without being banned or for wearing makeup. And those hillbillies want to be hillbillies. God bless you. You go your way. You see that meme? You go your way, I'll go mine. And if by chance we meet, don't fuck with me. That's the picture of me there. So yeah, just do your thing, man. Everybody should be able to do their thing.
You were on the front lines of free speech, with the PMRC, God, it's been going on almost 40 years now, and 40 years in a couple of years. And so, yeah, the drag ban could have ramifications for people who even don't dress in 7-inch heels or whatever. And, it could be a very slippery slope. So, I mean, you've been fighting the free speech crusade pretty much since the beginning of Twisted Sister.
I've always stood for personal freedom and expression, and it goes back to, my earliest days of performing. And I had it's in my book actually, but I really was allowed to break out when the toughest guy in school became the bass player in my band. And I was like, that's great, because I really want to wear some rhinestones and glitter, and I really want to wear some heels and start acting out on stage. And Dino Dionisio, wherever you are, I love you, because that was like the breakthrough moment. I felt like I'm not going to get my ass kicked because my bass player can kick their ass. But that, pretty much as long as I've been performing, it's been all about free expression, and not just mine, theirs, yours, everybody in the audience. Be yourself.
Absolutely. Well, it's interesting because, of course, I got to bring it up because you were saying how, and a lot of people don't understand how songs work, and, how if you use them in things like, like in government halls or, rallies or whatever, it's under different licenses and stuff. But of course,
you can't stop that. You can't stop that. And
can't stop rock and roll.
Playing at a football stadium. You can't stop it. It's not. Yeah, it's commercial use. You can stop that.
Don't I seem to recall that back in the 2016 election, obviously you had at one time a friendship with Donald Trump from Celebrity Apprentice, another reality show you've been on, and you did at first say it was fine for him to use We're Not Going to Take It, but then you said no, and he actually honored that request when you.
Yeah, I always give it. So, before Trump, before that era, that wave, people socialized, and there was a standard rule: don't talk about religion, sports, or politics. And I had wonderful times with a lot of people that I never knew what they believed, what they did in their bedrooms, or and but then and I was friends with Trump from the show, the Trump family, and when they called and asked if they could use a song, they're friends. Like, yeah, with my blessing. 3 months in, and he starts speaking about what he stands for, the wall, and and all the wall's a singular thing. There was so many things, and my kids were freaking out. Dad, you've got to go public. You got to denounce this guy. I said, listen. I said, unlike most people, he actually asked me if he could use the song. Most people just start using it, like Paul Ryan, and for example, who I spoke out against. And I said, he asked me, I said, yes, I'm at least going to give him the courtesy of calling him and saying, listen, I need you to stop. And I called him, and he stopped that night.
You guys in touch at all anymore? Obviously, at the moment, you might be a little busy.
Last conversation, I called back, and I said, are we cool? I was just, we were friends, and he said, Dee, we've done so many charity things together. For children's cancer, and for the ice rink, Woman Rink in New York City. And he says, and of course we're cool, and there's this video goes around that the right wing Trumpers like to put of me performing We're Not Gonna Take It with the Trump family. And they, and they love playing that video. It was at a children's fundraiser to fight children's cancer, St. Jude's. And somebody, I said, how much would you pay to get the Trump family on stage to sing We're Not Going to Take It With Me? Someone paid $50,000. And the Trump family got up, including Ivanka, who was with everybody, and they got on stage, and they sang We're Not Going to Take It With Me. It was for children's cancer. I said, you know what? I said, I'll do that again tomorrow. For $50,000 for children's cancer, I'll do it every day, twice on Sunday.
What year was that?
That was before it was right at it was 2012, Celebrity Apprentice time. Before he was running and all that, but they love pulling that video out, So, but we were friends back then. Unfortunately, I've lost a lot of friends, including family members, over the politics of the divisiveness of things,
Do you worry about losing fans sometimes? Because, it's really interesting to me. There's a lot of you and your hard rock peers, yourself, Nikki Sixx, Tommy Lee, Axl Rose, even when they go on Twitter and espouse whatever Stevie Van Zandt, whatever political views they have that tend to lean more towards the left or more towards liberal, a little more liberal, maybe, not, what I'm trying to say. Like the fans sometimes get very outraged by it. You don't seem to really care. You sass back to them.
Oh no, yeah, I don't care. First of all, nobody's buying records anymore anyway. Secondly, I'm not touring anymore. I'm not performing. And thirdly, Twisted Sister and Dee Snider are always bigger in Europe. And Europe and the free world hates Donald Trump. They think he's a buffoon. They hate that whole stupidity. They look at America. We've fallen in their view of in our stature.
Sadly,
outside. So I said, if I want to tour, I'll just go tour Sweden. I'll tour where they love me. I'll move there. I don't need you guys anymore. So, fuck you.
Okay. Do you, does it bum you out though? You talked about how there was a time when this stuff didn't get discussed as much, and you might be friends with someone whose, political views or social views different from your own, but it didn't matter. Do you miss those times?
100%. Like I said, I've lost family members over this,
Really?
I've got a bunch of extreme Trumpers, Qers in my I have a big family, and I can't even talk to them anymore, and they're outspoken about it. Look, I had friends. I'm a Yankee fan. I have a good friend, Adam Green. He's a Boston fan. He wears a Boston hat whenever I see him. I wear a Yankee hat whenever I see him. I've known him for 20 years. We've never mentioned our hats.
Don't do it.
If we mention those hats, we're not going to talk anymore. It's over. It's over.
Peace out.
All right? Wear your hat. Don't say a word about it. That's not. But I mean, and I've got friends who, whatever. It's sad that that's happened, but it's thinned out the herd a little bit though. Because
guess
quite
so.
honestly, if you really stand for some of that stuff, some of that racism, some of that prejudice, some of that lack of concern for other human beings, if you really stand on that side of things, I really don't want to be your friend anyway.
I mean, that's what the song "We're Not Gonna Take It" should be used for, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That's in your opinion as well. I don't assume you're following what's going on with Trump this week or have any thoughts on it in the news.
Well,
I gotta ask because, like,
I've watched. I mean, this is like the Al Capone situation. They got him on tax evasion. A lot of the great criminals of our time have been slipped up with something that you would think is insignificant, like a payoff to a porn star or something like that. But whatever it takes to do him in, because he's not you know what? We can really get into this conversation, but I don't believe he stands for any of the things that he says he stands for. Donald Trump sells a product. However he can sell that product, he wants an audience. He wants someone to buy the product. Whatever, if he finds an audience for a product, he's going to cater to that audience. His product, Donald Trump for president, there's people that he wouldn't even allow in the same room with him. The vast majority of these people, but they are buying what he's selling, and they're giving him his ultimate goal is to have a successful product. So he never not a church guy carrying a Bible around. He's a Democrat right up to before he ran. He was a Dem. He was for women's rights. He's not he's an anti-abortion guy. His track record is proven that the only thing he stands for is Donald Trump. That's the only thing he stands for.
To put the focus back onto you, one thing I really do like about talking about politics with you is that you don't see things black and white. You are very nuanced. You see the gray areas. I remember one time in one of the interviews I did with you, you called yourself, we talked a lot about pro-choice in that interview, but you called yourself a gun-toting feminist. I know you're pro-Second Amendment. You mentioned it just a minute ago, like responsible gun laws. Obviously that's in the news so much as well because of tragedies that keep going on, and Nashville was the latest one. But, you don't see things black and white. I would love, if you're willing, to sort of, do a quick kind of spiel about how, how you can be a responsible gun owner, how the Second Amendment can coexist with a peaceful society. You know what I'm trying to say?
Look, there's you think about nuances. People say, "Gee, what do you mean you're not with us? You're anti. You're a fighter. You fight against censorship." I said, "Yes, but you can't scream fire in a crowded movie theater where what you're saying is hurting people. That's not. I don't stand with that. You can't do that. Free speech is not saying anything you want to anybody. And the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms. It was never about. They were talking about muskets.
Yeah,
muskets. Okay, they weren't talking about automatic weapons and assault weapons and these high velocity rifles. Okay, high capacity, not velocity, high capacity. So I mean, that was never the intent. And if the forefathers were here, they would say that. Say, "Are you kidding? Are you kidding? We were putting one bullet at a time in a musket." So it is out of control. But see, this is the nuance. I understand. Just like the censorship, nobody wanted to allow any censorship of any kind because it's a crack in the bell of freedom. Right. Nobody, the abortion group, they didn't want any limits on abortions of pro-abortion groups because it allowed them to widen that and change it and use it and make it. And now look what we've got, and the same for the gun activists. They don't want to allow even any. They say give an inch, they're afraid to take a mile. The fact of the matter is, the extreme left will try to take a mile. The extreme right will try. It's human nature. Always try to take more. So it's an unfortunate situation. But look, how much longer are we going to do this? Where people with assault weapons are walking into schools, walking into clubs, going to concerts, and just blowing people away. There's got to be some limits. We got to figure something out.
Well, I think I've asked you this before, and I think the answer was no, but I'm going to ask you again. Would you ever go into politics ever since you so eloquently spoke at the PMRC? And since then, right now, the conversation we are having right now, you know, you're very politically astute and everyone loves you. People were so excited to see you on The Masked Singer, just whatever their political beliefs are or social beliefs, you tend to be a very unifying force. You wrote a song that everybody relates to. I mean, if you wanted, I mean, obviously we've had some celebrities, one of whom we've talked about today, that went into politics that did work out so well. So I'm not like into like stunt elections, stunt castings or whatever, but I'm being serious that I feel like you, if you want to have a second act career, could do it and be serious about it.
I get asked this a lot. And one day I got a call from a friend who's politically active. He says, Dee, we started a super PAC for you. I was like, what? He said, we started a super PAC. I said, Ken, I'm flattered. I said, but no, I'm not doing it. I've seen it up close. These politicians are awful people. They're so self-serving, and they're not there for the greater good. They're there for their agenda, and the people who are financing their campaigns. I said, the fact that they want to be politicians, they shouldn't be allowed to be a politician. It's like Pope Francis. He didn't want to be the Pope. Perfect Pope. As a matter of fact, you're going to say, well, Dee, that's why you don't want the job. So, well, if you guys elect me, I'll show up, but I'm not running. It's just an awful, I've been very up close and personal. It's an ugly, ugly group of people, and they're not out for our best interests. It's very sad.
Are you bracing yourself for next year's election and hearing we're not going to take it, possibly get used in context of which are not ideal in your eyes?
Well, next year you're going to see some Twisted Sister reunions.
Oh, okay.
At different political rallies.
Oh,
that
really?
Need our support.
Tell me about that. You're being serious? Like the band's going to play?
We were going to go to, no, well, we were all in favor of going to go down to support Beto in Texas.
I like it.
We couldn't schedule. So, you know, the band has a concern that the song is being co-opted, attempting to be co-opted by the extreme right. I tell you, QAnon and the January 6ers. And we want to make sure that people still know it's a song for everybody, and it does not represent that selfish micro group, whoever they are, is really for the mass people, the moderate people, the people just want to live their lives, be themselves, and not have people tell them they can't be themselves, you know, to restrict them like that. So I think you'll see us at political rallies and stuff like that. The band said like I said, we were all ready to go down for Beto, so we'll be out there next year.
Well, I'm excited to hear more about these reunion stuff, because at the top of this conversation, I said I was at the Canyon Club in Agora at the Hall of Fame. It's going
to be a song, you know. It's going to be we're not going to take
still, when you performed at the Canyon Club when you got inducted into the Heavy Metal Hall of Fame in I believe it was February or January of this year. That was like the first time Twisted Sister had performed in quite some time, right?
Yeah. Since 2016.
Okay.
Like that. So it was, So, you know, we anyway, it was fun.
It was super fun. You did Under the Blade. You did Under the Blade. Wasn't that the song?
There's no planned dates. I just know that there's going to be some people who are running, and the people who are going to need, you're going to need to hear that song. There's going to be a lot of people who are fed up on the other side. You know?
I'm really excited about that. At that Hall of Fame, you did Under the Blade, didn't you? Wasn't that one of the songs the PMRC completely misunderstood?
Yeah, it was about sadomasochism and bondage. Tipper Gore said. About sadomasochism and bondage. She had a dirty mind. That woman has a dirty mind.
Wasn't it actually about like a tracheotomy or something? Yeah, like that?
Eddie had polyp on his vocal cords. And he was terrified of going to surgery. And I said, I'm going to write you a song called Under the Blade. But as I said, hey, she saw sadomasochism bondage in the lyrics. That's whatever.
She sold you some records, so thanks, Tipper.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly. I'm sure a song about S&M probably sells better than a song about a polyp on a vocal cord. You know what I mean?
Exactly, that's true. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure I need to let you go, but I guess the last question I'll ask is, you have been misunderstood sometimes over the years. That obviously the PMRC misunderstood some things, underestimated. What would you say is like the biggest misunderstanding about you? Whether it's been since cleared up or not, but you have people, like I said, you have a lot of nuances too.
You know what? I mean, there's a gazillion of them. The one I was hoping, bringing it all back to the Masked Singer, one of the reasons I went on the show, my wife said, you got to go do the show. And I said, why? She said, because people don't know that you are a very capable vocalist and that you can sing anything. I've sang opera. I've sang, I could sing. So I sang on Broadway. So I could sing anything. She says, and you have opportunity to do other things, and people will know that. Unfortunately, I didn't make it past the second show. Next week I was going to sing the final countdown, but that was already rehearsing that one.
Oh man!
So I was going to do a lot, but that people, and when I was on Broadway, people would come at the side stage door, Sunday morning, and every night someone would go, Dee, I didn't know you could sing. And I'm like, what? What have I been doing for the last 30 years? They go, well, that's
right,
sister. That's what it said there. But I didn't know you could sing. So yeah. So apparently I can sing, and I thought I was gonna have a chance. By the way, the odds on were in Vegas were that I was gonna be the top 3 that they thought was gonna go all the way. Sorry, Vegas, if you lost any money on that bet.
I mean, I was not happy about the situation. I knew you could sing, and I recognized your voice, as you know, but I think they should have used the ding dong, keep it on bell on you. No diss to the Mantis, he's fine, but I feel they should have used the bell on you. The bell should have tolled for you. But I really enjoyed seeing you for your brief run on The Masked Singer, and I enjoyed speaking with you today, as always.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's always a pleasure. I'll see you again soon. I got a book coming out May 22nd.
Oh, you do?
First fictional novel. It's called Frats. It's being released on May 22nd, and it's a coming of age story, really highlighting the subtext is really about toxic masculinity. I mean, in the 70s, growing up, the environment. But anyway, it's come out on Red Penguin Books, and yeah. So when I got my graphic novel is coming out, He's Not Going to Take It. That's coming out in June. That's about Washington, but about how did I become the voice, the guy who spoke for a generation and now other generations. So they really do a deep dive in the graphic novel. That's on Z2 Comics.